Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney, and today we're talking about Prop 22 in California. Let me give you a quick caveat on this before I explain what that is. I am not admitted to practice in California, so I cannot talk about the state laws of California as an attorney. What you're getting from me today is a layperson's perspective because I am not licensed to give you more than that in California. And if you have detail oriented questions, you should speak to a local employment attorney in California. Cannot stress enough, not qualified to give legal advice in California. Okay? This is purely discussion. Now, what is Prop 22 in California? Quick history lesson. California state lawmakers tried to redefine Uber and Lyft drivers as employees. They wanted to do this because they thought that meant that Uber and Lyft drivers were going to get more benefits and be better off in general. We can have arguments about whether or not that was actually going to be better for Uber and Lyft drivers. But the law they made was really hurting some groups like the Writers Guild of America and truck drivers and a lot of people who very much value their independent contractor status and don't want to be forced into a employee-employer relationship, which is often people have a lot less leverage in those relationships often, right? Not always, but often. So that was the law that California was pushing and going forward with. And Uber and Lyft colluded to an extent, and they said, hey, we're going to do a ballot initiative. We're going to do a referendum in California, and we're going to call it Prop 22. And we're going to spend a lot of money to get Californians to vote in a referendum to keep our drivers as independent contractors. And in the background, you have, truckers' rights groups and other unions and the Writers Guild, like lots of groups fighting the California law. It wasn't just Uber and Lyft. Like, that's a popular urban legend. Like, lots and lots and lots of groups were like, whoa, no, you don't get to just redefine like 50 years of employment law and take away all our leverage and kind of harm us as like people working people. Like, this doesn't make sense. We understand that you have your nice theories and your nice politics, but those aren't real things. They don't exist in the real world. That's like academic things that have never really been tried, or like every time they've been tried, they hurt people a lot, right? So, and I'm not really taking sides in that. That was just kind of like the arguments you were seeing out of like the truckers and stuff like that. Like, this isn't good for us. This hurts us a lot. And Uber and Lyft, they had their own motivations, clearly, right? They thought they would end up having better margins, I think, if their employees were independent contractors. They have less liability, better margins. There's advantages to it for them. So they spent tons of money pushing this law, Prop 22. And like we mentioned, that law, if it passed the referendum, would essentially protect that independent contractor relationship for a lot of people, including the drivers of Uber and Lyft. And they won. They won the referendum, and Prop 22 passed. Now, in the past like 5 days, and it's August 24th of 2021 right now, in the past 5 days, we're hearing that a federal court judge declared Prop 22 unconstitutional. Sorta. Don't buy into the hype. There is a part of Prop 22 that does something that is, to my mind, certainly unconstitutional. Prop 22 has in it a line that says, yeah, and so because it's a referendum, and I'm paraphrasing, obviously, because it's a referendum and it's the will of the people, the state legislature can't amend this law. Listen, I think that the state legislature of California often departs from the will of the people, but that's basically how our system is built, right? Legislatures are not really all that accountable to the population until election time. That's, I think, by design in our system, certainly on the federal level, and I would expect in most states, if not all states as well. Like, they're not looking for you to be immediately able to impose your will on the legislature. They don't want that. They want you to vote people into power, and then, like, you can watch and you can get grumpy, but, like, you can't do anything about it. They're going to do what they want. That's how the system's built. And Prop 22, the way it was written in that section I paraphrased, kind of departed from that. Like it like put up limits on their power as a lawmaking body. And the federal judge said, "Hey, that's not constitutional. As it's written, can't fly, can't be, right?" Um, so it kind of remains to be seen. I don't know if Prop 22 as a whole is in good shape. I don't know if this is going up to a higher court. I don't know where this is headed. It was weird that that was included in the law because I would look at that as like a major risk factor for constitutional challenge. But also, I get why they did it. California just kind of like makes crazy laws all the time. I mean, like Elizabeth Warren, right? Like, come on. They do some crazy things, right? They're not really not really living in the same reality as perhaps most of the country, right? And that's okay. Listen, I'm not saying who's right. I'm just saying very different perspectives. And they do a lot of things, and some of those things are wacky, right? Some of them work out great. Sometimes, right? It could happen. Good ideas, you got to try some wacky stuff. And then good ideas can be like, oh, that worked out great. Surprise, surprise. But that's wonderful. I got off on a tangent there. Anyways, that's the gist of what's going on right now. We're keeping an eye on it. It is kind of scary stuff. Like making it really difficult for people to be independent contractors and be like self-employed in that way. I don't believe that's going to help people. I think that's going to erode the middle class. I think it's going to put money in the hands of the fabulously wealthy. And I think it's a really bad idea. I just don't understand why we're so aggressive towards small business and self-employed individuals. That's how you get a middle class. That's how you like achieve social mobility in a society. And social mobility in a society, like the ability to like start out with nothing and then earn money and be clever and get ahead, like that's a really important component in how a society is doing. If people can't get ahead because they're making good decisions and they're doing hard things and they're putting in the time, well, how are you going to get a flight to quality? How are you going to get your best and brightest rising through the ranks? How are they going to join McDonald's and work their way up from the fry station? No, that's not a real thing. Like climbing the ladder in that way, it doesn't really exist. That's not a real means of social mobility for the massive majority of people. It's just not real. Starting your own business, drive an Uber so you can throw some money into your app development, or so you can focus on your YouTube channel, or you can fund your writing dreams, or you're going to school nights so you can become a scientist or something, right? Like that's important. That's a really valuable thing. And I don't think it's wise for us to say, just extinguish that. It's my take on things. I've been saying it for quite some time. Feel free to disagree down below. I'm also going to include a link down below to a quick conversation from a show called This Week in Tech about Prop 22, because I thought they did a pretty good job of looking at Prop 22 from a new perspective. So they have some people live in California. They had some kind of balanced discussion. They talked about how these drivers are classified, I think, in the UK. It was interesting. It provided me a lot of additional information and context. And I think it also kind of included a perspective of the tech companies involved, right? And that was interesting for me because often I don't find tech companies to be all that deserving of my sympathies. So I'm going to include that down below. Comment, disagree, agree, ask questions. I will track the comments. Please like and subscribe. It helps me to help more people just like you.